back. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi met yesterday with the quartet foreign ministers of Pakistan, Saudi Arabia and Turkey in Cairo, urging the four countries to turn their consultative mechanism into effective institutional framework which is capable of addressing the regional crises, and on top of which, of course, is the latest developments in the Iranian-American war and the talks which are taking place in Switzerland. To shed more light on the issue, we are very much delighted to be joined here in the studio by Dr. Yasser, our international relations expert. Thank you so much, Doctor, for joining us, and we are always delighted to have with us.
Thank you very much for your time.
And before starting our interview here, we'll start with a look at this report about President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi's meeting with the foreign ministers of Pakistan, Saudi Arabia and Turkey.
Cairo takes center stage for regional diplomacy as President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi receives Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister of Pakistan Mohammed Ishaq Dar, Saudi Foreign Minister Prince Faisal bin Farhan and Turkish Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan. Foreign Minister Badr Abdelati joins the meeting as Egypt hosts the fourth session of the Quartet group that brings together Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Pakistan and Turkey. The timing gives the meeting added weight. Regional developments accelerate on multiple fronts, from Gaza to Lebanon to maritime security. President al-Sisi highlights the role of the four countries as key pillars for stability and security in the Middle East. The message is clear: coordination among Cairo, Riyadh, Ankara and Islamabad is not symbolic, it's operational. Within the broader quartet session, Minister Abdelati also holds a trilateral meeting with his Saudi and Turkish counterpart. The discussion focuses on ongoing consultations and alignment on issues of common interest. The format allows the three states to compare positions and coordinate responses before taking them to the full quartet table. Egypt frames the quartet as a platform for joint action, not just statements. By hosting in Cairo, Egypt positions itself as a hub for dialogue between Arab Gulf and non-Arab Muslim powers. The goal is a unified approach to de-escalation, ceasefires and protecting regional security from further spillover. As talks continue, the quartet meeting reflects a shift towards structured coordination. Four major states sit together, compare analysis and build consensus in a region facing overlapping crises. Cairo presents that unity as the foundation for any sustainable stability.
Welcome back. Doctor, of course, a very important meeting took place yesterday between President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and the Foreign Minister of Turkey, Pakistan and Saudi Arabia, and the U.S. consultant, of course, for the Arabian and African affairs, Musad Boulos. How do you see that meeting in light of all the regional developments and crises?
As we can see, first of all, as we can see from the media, that there is some escalation, de-escalation and tension, let's say, between US and Iran, but I think all of that was based for media show, actually, because the main core of conflict that the Iranians didn't accept that they can have photos where they are saluting the US delegates, so they get confusion, so they don't like to have media inside the meeting room and so on, so it was done with that. So it was based about technical issues. It was purely logistics, let's say, issue.
Of course.
So they like to show up because the US like to show that they win. The Iranians need to show to their internal side they win also. So practically we are going to have a framework agreement. Which is the 14 points mentioned. The rule of the meeting that held by, let's say, sponsored actually by our President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi is very simply to coordinate the efforts, because there are lots of, we cannot say rumors, but words, scattered words everywhere about the role of each country participation, but this rule, this meeting actually was focusing on presenting by evidence 2 points. Number one, that Egypt is leading the consortium of negotiations and including discussion with Iran, but in a silent mode in which they could accept a party which is not engaged in face-to-face negotiation, which is a must in critical negotiation, that there should be what we call it proxy meetings, side meetings and so on. The other issue is to give them guidelines about coordination, because there are lots of coming threats actually, which is number one, what will happen in Lebanon Lebanon actually, because it's still at burning point. And that the most important thing, which is all of that, is preparation for what will happen in Libya next, because this is the coming step now. So stabilizing Iran, does it mean stabilizing the region? That means another tension will escalate in Libya, and that's why our head of intelligence was there in Libya and so on to coordinate that. So all of that is a full coordination actually in all domains actually, and it present, we cannot say the strength of Egyptian diplomacy and so on, but it confirms the supremacy of our delegates, the supremacy of our, let's say, sponsors actually in such negotiation, which is completely complicated actually.
Yes. Sir, of course, President Sisi was keen on asserting the importance of achieving peace, security and stability in the region. How that would be achieved in light of all the challenges that you have just been mentioning, the developments in Lebanon, the talks which are taking place in Switzerland, and we are seeing how the situation is going on, with sometimes the talks proceeding, sometimes there is a halt, as what happened yesterday, and of course the situation in Libya.
Of course, the negotiation and discussions in Switzerland is going on. It is not stopping. It's like a propaganda or show up for both parties, but the communities agreed is starting doing the job actually. They started working on. And as we agree, it is not an agreement. It's a framework agreement which they are setting the terms of reference, which is 14 points to start discussion. So out of that, there could be up to 14 committees to discuss each point in singular and to reach one. So they have technical committees, they have administrative committees, and so that will start to, and this is the key issue. So the point is not to sign the agreement. The key issue is to start rolling up the committees, the related committees, which is going on actually. So it is going on, but the problem is not to deviate in the discussions, because Iranians are extremely powerful in negotiations. They are the best in negotiations, and there is a joke comparing Iranians as with the British, which is very professional, and everybody, even the British, say Iranians always win in such cases. So the point is, the rule of our President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi is to unify the effort and to show one statement to be communicated, and not to allow any member of the delegates to extract or submit wording which is not realistic and to overshow the value of contribution. So everything has to be unified. So I think now everyone is back to the rule, back to the same line, because there are some deviation if we see the particularities of the discussion. On the other side, there are some side escalation, which is the US President, Mr. Trump, shows that he is going to support a different delegate in the Israeli elections. So that means things are going not in favor of the Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu. So this will make him rather to do two things: rather to de-escalate suddenly to win Trump heart, or escalate rapidly, in which he could have quick win. Both.
Sorry for interruption here, Doctor, but by escalating here, you mean in Iran, or you mean further violence in both Lebanon and in Gaza and the West Bank?
Extreme violence in Lebanon and West Bank actually, and Gaza. Gaza for him is done, by the way. And to be very specific,
here we mean the Prime Minister of Israel.
Yes. Gaza for him is done. It's done. Nothing new. He did what he liked in Gaza, but he is silently, without any media exposure, doing that in the West Bank. Lebanon there is some media exposure there, so we know. But what's happening in West Bank is more than Lebanon, to be very specific. Now, but in Lebanon, they are extending their power, and they have a very nice statement that Hezbollah is a member of a terror organization, and nobody say we can stop. Even Lebanese government is saying Hezbollah is terror organization. So why we should stop war? It's not war, it's anti-terror action. So this is what he is selling to the internal. He is losing the support for internal, and especially he is getting a new I cannot recall the name, the ex-chief of staff of the Israeli army, who will be now having his own party, and who will be the main competitor to Netanyahu, and mostly he will win in the election because he is the one who will be supported by Trump, not Bennett or whatever else. So it's struggling waters for Israeli, and so that's why they have lots of turbulences in Lebanon and West Bank. For Libya, this is becoming a step, because as we can see, even Donald Trump said that a while ago, a few months ago, that it's Venezuela, Iran, and then he will go to control Libyan oil. So it was said in a talk already. So it's not something new. That's why we can find the meeting here was held by our president to control everything from an upper line as a sponsor. On the other side, our head of intelligence, General Hassan Rashad, was already in Libya to arrange let's say, to define the lines for both sides back in Libya. So all of that is a very complicated structure. It is not normal effort. It's abnormal effort to an extent that nobody can hold. And by the way, and everybody knows Egypt is the only country who can do that, who can manage all of that.
Yes, we'll be back to discuss the talks that took place yesterday, and of course the talks in Switzerland as well. But we'll go to a short break, and after that we'll be back to resume our interview with Dr. Yasser Tantawy.
NABA, the lifeline of New Delta land reclamation projects. Principal role, one of the most important pumping stations within the New Delta water transfer and distribution system to support agricultural expansion. Operational capacity pumps approximately 9.75 million